are back for losers bracket round 3. Just 3 more rounds of action today until we have a top 8 decided for the season 6 invitational. And this matchup might not be the dooziest of matchups. We've got the mirror here. Grimfan and Tabu both playing TJP mid-range. Grimfan might have named it Combray Party, but these lists are identical, Gabe, except one small difference in the sideboard, and that's the number of Runehammers versus Humbug Swarms. So I guess there's no favorite here, right?
Yeah, I mean, the decks are almost exactly the same. I think Grimfan has like one island's choice over a Desert Marshal, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, there is
Uh,
literally 2 cards different, so not a huge difference going on here. So yeah, not a whole lot to break down either. Then we're just gonna give these players the go ahead for them to get ready, and we'll get into the action. But man, it's been some good carnage so far, and it looks like one of these, at least one TJP mid-range list will be eliminated this round as loser goes home.
Good riddance.
Yeah, they might already be home though, as this is an online tournament.
That's true. You're correct. So yeah, this matchup is interesting. I mean, it's a mirror, but it's interesting in that there's not a lot of removal on either side. This is just going to be a slugfest, and if anyone gets ahead on the board, it's really difficult to come back. If you get into a board stall, which is pretty likely, then there's a couple key cards to look out for, namely Crystallize. There's one key card to look out for, namely Crystallize. But outside of that, a lot of it's going to be interesting to see how people can navigate these board stalls in combat.
Yeah, we kind of brushed off the difference of the 3 Desert Marshal, 1 Island's Choice split versus 4 Desert Marshal, but it's pretty important in this matchup because Island's Choice can counter Crystallize, and if you're getting into board stalls, well, if Crystallize is your best way to break it, Island's Choice can counter it, and it can deal with large units. So I think that one extra Island's Choice, who knows, it could make a difference in this first game before we get to sideboards.
Yeah. So we see Tobu, I think he kept that hand, and Grimfan sent his back.
Yeah, keeping that hand makes sense because another big difference maker in this matchup is who has the most obelisks. You're playing the same units, so if yours are bigger, exactly. that's a pretty big advantage.
The only time you don't want to be playing, more obelisks is when your opponent's like Awakened Student, Awakened Student, Awakened Student. You're like, I'll play some obelisks.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's really powerful.
Yeah, Grimfan, top decks a initiate here. Not exactly the turn you want to draw it. Instead opts to go with the Kothon into Knight Chancellor Seraph. Will probably use initiate as a surprise, like ramp at some point when he can fit it, but instead just trying to get on board as Tabu does the same, plays out Seraph, presumably trying to follow up into Obelisk, which will put Seraph into Vanquish range, but doesn't
Initiate still gets some value in this deck even as the game goes on because you have so many power breakpoints to hit, like 8 for Seraph, 6 for Kothon, and 8 and it's a body for Obelisk.
Yeah, this deck makes big use out of that extra power, even if its curve's not that hard. Getting Scouting Party out a turn earlier, as you mentioned, all of those activated abilities is real big because now this Kothon's threatening to activate right here a turn early as Tabu plays out another Seraph rather than going with the Obelisk route. Doesn't want to put anything into Vanquish range or something like that. And in comes the Kothon after it takes to the skies.
Yeah, and so Tobu has a Scouting Party and 6 power now, and 2 obelisks. So if he survives, he's going to feel really good. So I think he's going to try and play this as conservatively as possible. If he plays obelisk, he really, so he's going to play the Vanquish instead. If he had played obelisk and Grimfan had Vanquish, his blocks get really bad.
Yeah, he also earlier on in the game, Grimfan swung with a Seraph. Tabu chose not to block because Stand Together could have blown that out. Exactly. He may have sniffed out that Grimfan doesn't have it anymore, but top decks change things. And speaking of top decks changing things, Grimfan finds a Crystallize off the top here.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Tobu doesn't want to see because he wants this game to go on for as long as possible. And Crystallize is going to say no way to that. It is going to freeze the game right here.
Not only that, but because Tabu's been choosing to not play these obelisks, it won't just freeze these Yetis, it'll straight kill them. I don't think that matters too much in this game just because Grimfan's already got such a wide board. Tabu's already at 16, basically dead in 2 turns. But it's certainly not a good thing for Tabu here either. We
Yeah,
might just see the Desert Marshal come out for extra damage.
yeah. I think had Tobu played Obelisk, then taken the full damage, and then played Party afterwards, I think he lives just barely. But this way, we're gonna see him definitely dead unless he snuck a harsh rule in or something.
Yeah, Tabu goes down to 5, has 2 stunned units, can play a Sandstorm Titan here, but that can only block 1 unit and scoops it up. So as we said, Crystallize one of the big board stall breakers, although we weren't quite in a board stall there, right? Kothon was in the skies, but it certainly ended the game pretty quickly and took out an entire scouting party.
Yeah, and that wasn't quite triple awakened student, but it was still the situation that I was talking about where
Yeah.
Obelisk is a really low tempo play, and you're both playing really proactive decks, and sometimes you just don't have time to not do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, Grimfan had the Kothon into Seraph on the play where Tabu just didn't have anything until Seraph on turn 3. Didn't have an initiate to get into it. Didn't have any twos like Kothon, Desert Marshal, or Awakened Student. And yeah, Grimfan just got to take control of that board and push it.
Yeah, absolutely. So out of the sideboard, it's like you said, they're basically the same sideboard as well. What cards are both decks looking to bring in here?
Uh, the extra stand together again. It just makes your board bigger than theirs. Plus, it can counter crystallize. That would be something I expect to come in. Same with the extra islands choice. The backlash is kind of narrow. I don't know if that's supposed to come in this mirror or not. I am not well versed in it, but it also hits scouting party. So it hits crystallize, scouting party, stand together, vanquish. That's a pretty good range of hits.
Yeah, I definitely think it comes in after choice and stand together.
Yeah.
But it's still consideration. The permafrosts are also not terrible. It's just that
Your opponent's
they're
playing
better off.
only they're only playing a few silences, but they're also playing a good number of endurance units. Well, they're still on 4 enforcer, 3 to 4 marshal. I don't know how good the
Yeah,
permafrosts are here. I don't think they quite make the cut post board.
yeah. Especially when you consider what you'd have to take out for permafrost, right? There isn't a card that you really want permafrost over in the main board.
All right, so here we go. This match is underway, and Tabu, both players have the initiates, but Tabu gets a ramp out of Seraph. Grimfan ramps out an obelisk, but on triple time influence. Not a great spot to be.
So this is a situation where you really like obelisk, where you can get it down early before you're threatened by anything, and then from that point on, you're able to block with your dudes. But uh, like you just said, triple time, really rough. Can't actually play anything. And even if he did, Tobu has a Vanquish, which is now going to be live on a lot more stuff thanks to this obelisk.
Yeah. Yep. So Tobu draws a Diplo seal, not the primal source he needs for Kothon, but it doesn't matter. Obelisk coming down here. Might just see the A space. Maybe he'll hold back the initiates to play around something, but Grimfan doesn't even have justice to represent here, so not a whole lot to play around. And yep,
Yeah.
we see all the units come in here.
And the tables are turned this game. Tobu just had the initiative with an initiate and played out his Seraphs and an obelisk, and this is going to be a very quick game.
Yeah, if Grimfan drew any undepleted power there, he could have gotten the scouting party down. That's why he didn't block with Initiate, but that's not the case. Whole lot of uncastables as we see it. Runehammer be the draw there for Grimfan. So that came in this out of the sideboard. I wonder how many of those come in as we go to a very quick game 3. Just one deck keeps just curving out a bit better than the other.
Yeah, when you have these 3 faction decks, there's just so much variance in the power base and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So in the mirror, especially when they're both, like we just talked about, very proactive decks, in the
Yeah.
mirror, whoever runs smoother is going to make a much bigger difference than say the Armory versus TJP or Felton versus TJP matchup.
Yeah, these 3 faction decks could be playing more influence fixing, right? They opt to only play 4 seats or 6 seats, 4 banners, and a couple seals, right? 4 seals, a lot of sigils and some amber acolytes, and that's because they want the deck to still be fast out the gates, a lot of undepleted power, and there's that trade off of speed versus consistency of fixing, and
Yeah, but
we saw it play out there.
what it does do is make the deck extremely powerful when it works. And on Tobu's side, it is about to be very powerful. He's going to have triple, one primal, one justice, one time, double awakened student, and an obelisk to back it up. That is great.
Yeah, the only way this kind of opener gets better is if you have a turn 1 seat where you can just play the Awakened Student and
Yes.
immediately buff it. Instead, you just play out the student. You don't get to buff it, but you get to maybe accelerate into this obelisk or, go student plus Vank or something like that. Tobu opting to get the Seek out of hand now grabs the Time Sigil. So that means he's giving up on double justice here. I'm assuming this Diplo Seal will make a primal here.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with the with the time sigil there, because I think you have the most time sigils in your deck, so you grab the one you're less likely to draw.
Yeah. I thought he would maybe just hold the Seek, but he goes and uses it and summarily gets punished as the Auric Runehammer's off the top. Now he might use this Diplo Seal for double justice instead of a primal source.
Yeah, because this Auric Runehammer is very tempting. Runehammer is a really interesting card in this matchup because as the game goes on, it's one of the worst cards. But on turn 4, it's one of the best cards you could possibly play. So he's going to take advantage of that right here.
Yeah, normally Hammer not great on the draw, but because this is actually turn 3, right, with Initiate of the Sands, you get to accelerate out this Runehammer. So it's like you're on the play. And that's how Initiate can be the great equalizer. And there we find the double time card in Sandstorm Titan as Tobu now, Grimfan opts to play nothing because he can't play anything, but Tobu's still got to respect the possibility of maybe something like a Desert Marshal here before, and an Island's Choice. So, Tobu could play the power pre-combat to put Awakened Student into Island's Choice range, but then Island's Choice is at least is hitting Awakened Student, not Titan, but you're getting less damage in. Same with like this Obelisk. You could play that out here. So we'll see what happens as first he opens with the hammer, sees what kind of pauses are going on. And what would you do here?
So yeah, this is a really interesting position from Tobu's perspective. Like, you want the value from Awakened Student, you want the tempo from Sandstorm Titan, and you want and any opportunity to play Obelisk when it's not going to punish you is really good.
Yeah. So Tobu opts to go with the Awakened Student play here. I don't love that from a power efficiency standpoint. And he draws a Crystallize, but he's still on the board. Grimfan has nothing, can't cast this Sandstorm Titan, doesn't have double time, and not looking good for Grimfan right now as his draw for turn was Stand Together.
Yeah, I think I would have been leaning towards the Sandstorm Titan play because my opponent feels behind and I want to press that advantage.
Yeah, especially because if you're Tobu and you drew another undepleted power here, you could have gone Awakened Student into Obelisk this turn anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Where now you're only playing one or the other. And it's harder to fit in Vanquish as well, depending on what Grimfan's follow-up was here. Now Grimfan finds a double time source, could play Titan here, but that's really bad against Vanquish. But if he just goes Vanquish, he's dead because his opponent has a hammer.
Have good options.
Yeah, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't here.
So basically, the story of this game was, Tobu had more units and he had better tempo with the Initiate.
Yep. So Tobu takes the mirror down 2-1. That game wasn't so much the power not working out right for Grimfan, even though he had that Titan stranded in hand. It was more just had all of those kind of board stall breakers in hand before he got to the board stall part. Double Stand Together, Crystallize, those sorts of things. And Tobu just out-tempoed him this game.
Yeah, we actually didn't really see a single board stall in the whole best of 3 series there because A, the deck is just so good at breaking board stalls, and B, it's not actually between two decks. It's fairly likely one of them is going to stumble a bit setting up their board.
Yeah. So it was just smooth sailing each time. We did see a Crystallize kind of break a board, but it wasn't as much of a stall as it was a slaughtering of the scouting party. Yeah. So with that, Tobu takes out Grimfan. Grimfan is eliminated from the tournament, but still a good showing getting this deep into it. And we'll see. Yeah, a few other matches have resolved as well. Unearthly takes out Tatsumaki, so the singular Chalice player does fall to Argenport, and Unearthly's been in the losers bracket since the very first round, slowly snaking his way up, as we alluded to. He can just get it done. Tony G also taking out Kamado, still alive here as well. We're still
Wow.
waiting on, Tony G doing his armory thing.
No, but also that's another TJP deck taken out by aReNGee.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of decks to take out, and it looks like they're doing it. And we've got a backup matchup to jump into here as Komodo versus level 13 David's going on. David is up 1-0 in the middle of game 2. So we'll be jumping in there. It looks like we'll be observing from Komodo's perspective. David will be the hand camp. So let's do that now. Let me see if I can jump in.
Yeah, I'm just getting David's up, but I'm in the game now.
And wow, we've got a board state. We've got shimmer packs and owls. I wonder if that shimmer pack, I guess it came off of a Seraph. Yeah, it's an 8/8. So a Seraph at some point activated and made a shimmer pack. And so Komodo is on, I believe, Dark Combre. And then David is on the TJP list we just saw a mirror of. So it looks like the bigger time deck is doing slightly bigger time things, has some owls in play. David's at 9, but again, David is up a game, but has quite a bit of a smaller board here. These 1/1 Yetis not quite standing up to these 8/8 dinosaur illusions.
Yeah, this is absolutely nuts here.
Safe travels.
I'm not sure if like who's favored between the Combre or the TJP deck. I would think the board stall deck would be better at breaking board stalls, but you know, 8 shimmer packs across the board is definitely another way to win. So
Yeah, and crucially, this Seraph found a treasury guard with endurance, so Komodo's not quite as scared of Crystallize, right? But here
yeah,
comes in a whole lot of lethal units. David's at 1 right now, so we're gonna see some chumps. Crucially, David has 3 flyers. You know, that super important tower top patrol out of his list.
Oh, yeah.
wait, that came from a Seraph. I'm thinking that's what that shimmer pack on David's side was. Is a Seraph that got transformed.
yeah, absolutely.
So like David has the Marshal to take out one of these flyers, but it wouldn't have pushed through lethal anyway. So instead, saving it as a emergency use only. And yeah, we're gonna see a whole lot of chump blocks here. This tower top patrol will bounce off one thing though.
Yeah, Komodo's list is actually quite different from Hydar's, but we can go into that later.
Yeah, if it looks like we could see a game 3 here. Seraph off the top for David can get activated. So there might be an out that this can hit. Inquisitor Mokto is not bad, but not good enough. And David scoops it up. And yeah, we're going to get a game 3 here and take a look at some of these decks. Or maybe we won't. We'll see how quickly we get back into this this match. But
yeah, I think because both players have already sideboarded, they might be right back in there.
Yeah. So we'll probably get back into this pretty quick, but you said Komodo's Dark Combre list was a bit different than the one we saw before?
Yeah, so
Oh, Valkyrie Enforcers are
yeah,
in
he
there.
has Valkyrie Enforcer, doesn't have the Dark Returns, which is kind of expected.
Sure.
Has less Temple Scribes. I'm trying to figure out. Oh, he has Martial Ironthorn. That's what it is.
Yeah, the harsh rules are in the side. So as we were talking about how Valkyrie Enforcer is less appealing if you're playing harsh rule, we see it here out of Komodo's list. Harsh rules are in the side. Martial Ironthorn, Valkyrie Enforcer, main deck, with 3 banished, 4 slay still. So just really low to the ground as far as Dark Combre goes.
I actually really like that. That puts
yeah.
Komodo is taking a more mid-range approach, whereas Hythar is taking a more controlling approach.
Yeah. Yep, and I think both are equally viable for sure. As we see that allows Komodo to flex in like these stand togethers, reality wardens in the sideboard if he wants to go that direction instead of bringing in rules against a deck that can play stand together and everything else and backlash and everything else like that. The big I guess breaker here once we get into the post board matchups is David has the ability to go wide and have Obelisk, whereas Komodo can go a bit taller naturally with Parliament and Ascendant.
Yeah, and Obelisk loses a little bit of value
because
Like
of
Obelisk
Banish.
desks, because of Vanish, and they also lost a little bit of favor when Praxis was so popular because Praxis was playing out units that could attack into the board that Obelisk decks were trying to set up before Obelisk was even relevant, and they would just end up chumping and not ever getting value out of Obelisk. And that's Komodo's deck with the Reality Wardens can potentially do, not to the same degree as Praxis, but it is a possibility.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. I don't know if something like Reality Warden really comes in here for this
Yeah.
matchup. I think the big breakers here for Komodo again, like has Parliament, so bigger flyers. Martial Ironthorn obviously can totally bust open a board stall, and yeah, Banish, that great equalizer in terms of Obelisk versus non-Obelisk, could end up being huge here. Getting word that we won't have a hand cam from David. We'll just be going from Komodo's perspective for this next game, unless somehow a miracle happens. But still, we're just waiting for the challenge to go out to jump back into this matchup. So here we go. This is a do or die game 3. Who do you think's going to take this last game?
You know, my money is a little bit on Komodo's side. I think, like you said, he's just got a lot of big units. He's got flyers to keep up with anything David's trying to do. And he's like I think if you match up card for card, I think Komodo is going to be a little more powerful. And he has less spots where he's goes tempo negative.
Yeah, I do like that David can get out of the gates very quickly, though, can potentially put Komodo too far behind. But that might not be the case here as this match gets underway. David has the play, but only opens up on a depleted Huru banner, so no turn 1 initiate shenanigans coming here. But it's, and Komodo's got a pretty low curve, all things considered. Double Combrade Healer, Valkyrie Enforcer, and Parliament is the hand.
Yeah, not the greatest hand versus David, because David can push through these combo healers with a little bit of help. But if he can answer this Awakened Student before it gets too big, he'll be feeling pretty safe.
Yep. So Student on the play means it'll at least be a 3/3 before Komodo can silence it. If Komodo chooses to go that direction here. And draws a banished return as David deploys a Kothon here.
So what does he choose to silence is the question. And I think, so I think leaving the 2/3 on the board rather than leaving a 3/3 on the board is probably correct.
And David misses on power, plays nothing for the turn, and now Komodo just might turn this around and go as the beatdown, but Island's Choice left up.
Wow.
Takes out the Parliament, and not so much the beatdown now. Komodo opting to swing anyways, though. David gets to crack back for at least 5 here.
Yeah, I think that's the right play for Komodo because he knows his next turn is just, well, I'm going to probably play Combrade Healer and do nothing.
Yeah. And plus, if this could happen here, right? David swings in, uses Stand Together. It's not like Komodo could have blocked anyway. But now this Banish is a bit worse. Combrade Healer can start popping these Aegises, but it's slow going. And yeah, he'll instead opt to just get a 3/6 flyer to try and sit back on. Now David finds the power, gets a 5/5 Awakened Student, but that can be double blocked as it stands.
Can also be double banished.
Yeah.
More likely, though, I would not be surprised to see.
There it is.
To see Komodo, that's going to be a lot of damage. To see Komodo use the Combrade Healer to pop the Aegis on the Awakened Student now that David is at 0 power, and just banish it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we'll see that. So the Obelisk comes out from David. He was stuck on power. It was reasonable to expect some good plays to come out here, and Obelisk is it. So, yeah. Healer doesn't have to target your own unit, but does. Just goes with the 3/9 Enforcer. It's in it for the long haul. Banking on it being able to block this Awakened Student for long enough that maybe Mystic Ascendant can somehow turn this around.
Yeah,
although Banish can still go at this Obelisk too, so maybe he's trying to get fancy with that.
That's true. But he has 2 banishes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting line. But I guess I guess he really values just, I don't know, the Valkyrie Force was already a 3/6. But
yeah, I mean,
we'll see how it plays out.
I'm just wondering what this plays around.
Yeah, so there it is. Just banish the obelisk. Finds the power for Ascendant, so that gets to tick up here. But David's got a pretty big unit and controls the skies right
Yeah, definitely. And now he's in a good position. Well, except for this
now.
vanquish. Now
Yeah,
he's in
again,
the same position.
yeah, it turns out when your opponent's been stuck on power for a few turns, they usually have the answers. But
Well, you
Cambrai
just
loves
draw
to
another.
top deck, and that's what we see here. Mystic Ascendant off the top. But Komodo's already down to 12. This is not an insignificant clock from this Enforcer.
Yeah, Enforcer has been known to sneak in a couple wins from Combray or TJP or decks
All
like
right.
that play it. So
Well, the coast is clear here for this banish at least, but we'll see Komodo draw a card first off of Mystic Ascendant. Stand Together, the draw, not bad. So Komodo's got a big board here. Holds up banish. I don't know if I agree with that against a deck playing Stand Together.
yeah, it's definitely an interesting choice. I mean, there are some potential blowouts with it, like especially in response to a stand together. If
Mhm.
David tries to use the +1/+1 in combat,
Maybe Komodo's just not worried about this clock. No, going to use the banish here on this 3/3 flyer. I could see, you are at 9. I could see being like, all right, I'll take one more hit from it. Maybe I draw a Great Parliament here. But no, Komodo pulled the trigger on it, draws deeper, finds a Desert Marshal, has double Stand Together. I guess was just holding the banish because his opponent could have drawn another obelisk, and that could have pushed through a lot of damage.
yeah, this game, I mean, not worth thinking about that much. But
Yeah.
I feel like this game would have been really different had that healer popped that Aegis, that banish gone to that Awakened Student, and now we had a Desert Marshal to answer the Valkyrie Enforcer.
Yeah, but here's another banish. So no power for Komodo. Instead, some stand togethers and a banish. And I think we'll just see nothing happen here from
Well, he
Komodo.
has the option of main phase Desert Marshal banish,
Mhm.
but we've seen him be conservative, holding those
Yeah.
back to play
He's
around stuff.
also not really concerned about this Awakened Student. He has the biggest unit on board to block it, especially combined with stand together anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's not too worried about big vanilla units. He's more worried about maybe flyers. But again, David played a Sandstorm Titan for him. So now this banish, I think, is going to be mostly saved for an obelisk at this point.
Yeah.
That would be fully powered up. Here comes the A space from David, though. And Desert Marshal will be pretty good here. Gets to probably silence a Yeti and get in the way of something. And ooh, David drew a fast spell of some sort. Maybe another stand together.
Yeah, so does this banish
Ooh,
come down
you can
here?
banish in response now.
So does it take out the Titan? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, because then you can still block the Awakened Student by casting your own Stand Together. Your Mystic
This
Ascendant
is
will
going to
be bigger than it.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, David loses everything except for Kothon, I think.
Yeah, this is going to be a slaughter. It looks like Kothon is getting blocked, though, so David gets to draw a card and take out. No, he... Yep, there we go.
Yep.
Blocks changed to the way you predicted it,
And
and we
that's
see a
it.
scoop. Yeah. So there we go. And that is it.
Yeah, and it turns out, not getting rid of the Awakened Student worked out because of
Mhm.
it put David into a situation where he wanted to attack.
Yeah, well, Komodo knew he was going to draw 2 straight Mystic Ascendants, so
Yeah,
it was
that's
just a smart play to know that you would always have a unit bigger than a 10/10.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly.
But no, it was more about saving the banish for what he thought were more important things, right? Obelisk and flyers, and that's what Komodo did, and that patience did pay off. That foresight. So that will be that match. That brings the end of that bracket to a close. We already went over the other results, but Komodo eliminates David and moves on to losers bracket round 4. Komodo doesn't know who he'll be playing against just yet, though, as we've got to move on to winners bracket round 3. We've got 2 more rounds of coverage today until we have figured out our top 8, and we'll be getting to winners bracket round 3 after this short break.